Hey there, this is Andrew from Club Ready DJ School. I'm currently in Thailand. I'm trying to capture the full moon here. It's pretty red at the moment, it's pretty cool. But this video is going to cover everything you need to know to build momentum with your DJing fast. So watch until the end because I'm going to demystify the main ingredients to be a club ready DJ. So number one, get inspired. Now, I have this philosophy that I can honestly swear by and it's never steered me wrong, and that is you must follow the ideas that get your mind racing with passion and excitement. So for instance, let's say you're at a party or a club event or even a festival and you feel the energy in the crowd, man. You're loving how the DJ is like arranging the music to create this experience and how much that's affecting everyone in the audience. And let's say that really blows your mind enough to think, man, I want to do this, okay? You love music, you love creating playlists, and most importantly, you really love the atmosphere that the DJ's creating at the events enough to think, you know what? I'm going to do this, and you've got to trust that feeling, and that means you have to do it. Now, sure, you may feel at first that you lack the confidence needed to play live or even be a DJ, but I can 100% assure you that once you're confident behind the decks, meaning you know what's what and you know how it all works, and I'll get you there, right? You're going to be hooked, and learning to DJ will be one of the most fulfilling and rewarding experiences and decisions that you've ever made, okay? Which honestly leads to number two. You have to make a decision and stick to it. We'll get to the DJing stuff in a sec, but first it's about decisions and doing the right stuff. See, making a decision is the ultimate power, okay? And if you're going to be a kick-ass DJ, you've got to commit to that, okay? And you have to decide though, okay, how are you going to achieve this? So it's usually going to come down to how are you going to learn, and that's like free versus paid content. Now the truth is, there is loads of quality stuff on YouTube, right? But when working with DJs personally, I do notice a massive difference between people who are self-taught and those that have some kind of teaching or guidance. So sure, this is going to sound biased, okay? But the advantages of actual courses are they followed an organized approach with each training exercise feeding into the next. And no doubt, this way of learning is way less confusing, and it's undoubtedly going to fast track your results big time, as opposed to trying to go it alone and search topics in no particular order. Now, personally, right, I have over 20 years self-employed in the music industry experience, and I've bought several DJ courses from other DJ schools over the years, and the truth is they're great. Honestly, we're all teaching the exact same thing, so all you have to do is find a teacher that you resonate with, and no doubt by doing a course it's going to help you to achieve your goals 20 times faster. Okay, so now that you've made your decision, number three, start collecting music. Now, people always say, I'm going to get a course, okay, once I get my gear. But the truth is, before even hitting the decks, there's a lot you can do to be prepared. And what this means is when your decks arrive, you can hit the ground running and you can build momentum really quickly. And you can be like DJing a set within the first couple of hours, okay? But the first step to this is building your music library and even making playlists of tracks that you want to DJ using DJ software. Now, quite often there's a free version of DJ software that allows you to import music, build and order playlists, and you could even set cue points, which means you can mark out the best parts of each track to assure that when you play, that everything lines up, okay? Now, to help you get started on this, I do have 16 free videos, PDFs and checklists in my free mini course that's going to help you build momentum quickly. So I'll link that in the description below. Like, honestly, I know it's a plug, but it's in your interest. You want to check that out. Okay, so number four, get some gear. Now, even though, yeah, sure, man, you can get a feel for DJing on your computer or even using some phone apps, but you get so much more control when using physical gear. Now, when picking gear, it's important to understand they all essentially do the same thing, but keep in mind if you buy too cheap, you're probably going to end up buying twice. So if you have a limited budget, I would choose the Pioneer FLX4 or the DDJ 400. But if you have a bigger budget, look for something with 4 channels and dual players, as even though you may not be ready to mix with more than 2 channels yet, okay? But with my guidance, I can have you doing sets with 3 to 4 channels within a few months. And honestly, having dual players from the start is going to save you from upgrading later. So some awesome decks with dual players include the DDJ 1000. I've got that personally, the Prime 4, the Rain 4, and also Pioneer's latest release, the Opus Quad. Okay, now, however though, if that's like all out of your budget, the important thing really is to just get started and build momentum. And if you want to get a feeling of mixing with 3 or more decks, I also have videos on my YouTube channel and in my course about using the sampler like a third deck. And the truth is, even if you bought the DDJ 400 or FLX4 and upgraded later, the smaller controllers do make unreal traveling companions. And even though I personally have club decks at home in my studio, I'll take my DDJ 400 literally everywhere. And honestly, I can bust out world-class sets on the 400. So honestly, gear is less important than you think. So it's about the skills, which leads to number 5, mastering the mixing process. Once you understand how the main features of your gear works, and for that, check out my free mini course, again, where I have videos on all the main features found on all DJ gear. And I also make comparisons between club gear and controllers to show you the different layouts, okay? But once you know what everything does, it's important to condition the mixing process so you're thinking less, okay, about what to do next, okay? And instead, you start to feel pretty confident, okay? And that means you're gonna get better results faster. Now, the mixing process is what you're gonna do every single time you do a mix. So I'll go through it now, but if you want a pretty PDF printout, it's in my free mini course, which I suggest you print out, put it above your decks until this process becomes automatic, okay? So now, okay, the mixing process sounds obvious, but honestly, I know from teaching over 1,000 one-on-one students, okay, and that like one-on-one classes, if beginners are making mistakes, they're usually skipping one of these steps. So here goes. Step 1, prepare your tracks. That means load your song, load your cue point, check your BPMs if both tracks are the same, and if they're not, match them up with the tempo fader. Number 2, press play. But where you hit play is pretty important, and I'm going to discuss that in the next point. But once you hit play, number 3, you're going to need to know how to line up the beats using your jog wheel, and ideally beat matching using your ears without visual reference, okay? And once your tracks are in sync, then you're going to, number 4, do your transition using your volume faders and your EQ to control the dominant track in the mix. Now you can do this on all types of gear, and once this process is mastered or ideally conditioned, you can then start building on your skills and adding effects. But personally, my advice, effects comes last. So if you're like every other beginner and you hit the effects first and think, wow man, that sounds really cool, but you lack the foundations to actually do pro sounding transitions, the chances are, man, it's going to sound messy, and people are just going to think you sound shit. Anyway, they're not going to take you seriously. Okay, so number 6, once you've got the mixing process down, where do you mix? Now, when mixing tracks, it's important that you make your transitions sound natural, and that means not cutting major sections of the track in half. And it's equally as important to make sure that you're mixing your new track at the right point so everything lines up. Now, one of the most popular places to mix in your new track is to come in after the chorus, but a really common mistake people make is they hit play where they want to mix in, and that means, right, they're hitting play with the volume up, beat matching out loud or hitting sync, right, and then they're doing their EQ as they go, and honestly, it all feels super rushed, and in truth, this method can be overwhelming for anyone, and it results in your transition sounding forced. So instead, I suggest, at least at first, finding the parts where you want to mix and then using your DJ software. Set a cue point 8 or 16 bars earlier to give yourself time to beat match in your headphones before bringing up the volume and then using your EQ to control the dominant track in the mix. Now, at the end of the day, right, how much of each track you play, okay? 100%, it's up to you, okay? And at first you may find it's a lot easier to mix over the outro, but let's say each track you're playing is 7 minutes in length and you're playing the full 7 minutes of every track. not only may you get bored, but your audience may also find it monotonous, right? So it's always fun, right, to have a variety of mixing techniques so you can always play the best parts of each track, and better yet, that's going to give you greater control over the energy on your dance floor. Now, again, if you're not sure how and where to set cue points, check out my free mini course. The link's in the description below. Okay, number 7, EQ mixing. Now, to make your transitions super smooth, it's all about controlling the dominant track in the mix with your EQ. Now, there are 2 schools of thought when it comes to transitioning using the EQ. Now, a popular way is to simply reduce the bass of your incoming track. So when you bring the volume up, your new track sits in the background, and then when you're ready to make your new track dominant, you swap the basses before fading out your exiting track, okay? Now, honestly, bass swapping, it's great for beginners, and no doubt it's a really good starting point, but trust me, okay? Bass swapping is basic, okay? And if all you do is swap the basses, your transitions still can sound messy, okay? So personally, EQ mixing is my specialty, okay? And through using the whole EQ, you can take your transitions to another level, and that's especially true for the more drawn out genres like techno and progressive house. But honestly, EQ mixing can and should be applied to all music, and no doubt, when done right, you can make all your transitions sound like amazing. Now, my students know exactly what I'm talking about here, as no doubt my tutorials in my course on EQ mixing are the undisputed best tutorials out there. I've seen nothing like it. But if you want a taste of what I'm talking about, check out my free YouTube video on EQ mixing versus volume faders. I'll link it in now. Okay, lead to number 8. Okay, craft a playlist. Now, this honestly is a video in itself, okay, that I'll probably do, but I'll summarize it now. First off, just get 20 tracks of the same genre and make sure they're roughly the same BPM, okay? Now, that's gonna make things a lot easier for you, at least at first, okay? Because at first it's about building your confidence, and more so than doing big BPM jumps and crossing genres, which, don't get me wrong, that's fun, but creative mixing comes later. And I also suggest that you buy your tracks off Beatport or a reputable DJ site or some record pool, as this assures that tracks are good quality and also that they have intros and outros, which honestly is going to make it so much easier for you to learn on. Now, to build a playlist, just practice finding tracks that go well together. And this is where you may want to think about mixing harmonically and also experimenting with your 2-player mode in your software. Now, again, sorry for the plug, okay, but in my free mini course, I also have a free video on harmonic mixing that's going to help make your transitions sound professional, okay? And in turn, again, that's going to help you to build your confidence. And at first, confidence in getting results fast, it's everything. It's what I do for my students. Build their confidence. We just build and build and build and build. Okay, so number 9, record yourself. Now, once you have a playlist, I suggest recording yourself, like play through your playlist. And instead of sharing your mix straight away, I reckon listen back to your mix and try and identify areas where you can improve. So for instance, you may listen back to your mix and you think, oh, this track doesn't actually, like, it feels out of place there, or perhaps, you know, one of your transitions kind of sounds a little bit rough and perhaps just needs a little bit of work, okay? And all of this, like listening back, provides an opportunity for you to kind of make adjustments. You know, you can go back, rework it, you know, fine tune your skills. Now, at this early stage, it's really important not to judge yourself, okay? There's plenty of times where I've personally recorded mixes and listened back and thought, oh my God, man, that's shit, okay? And it usually means pulling back on effects, you know, getting a good flow, kind of getting the arrangement down and then building on those foundations from there. Okay, so number 10, fast track your results. Personally, besides running club events every single week, sometimes 3 events per week for close to 17 years, and then teaching over 1,000 one-on-one classes before selling Sydney DJ School, and then going completely into club-ready DJ School, honestly, I can tell there's a massive difference between DJs that have done my courses versus people that are self-taught. Now, sure, there's value in free online content, but from my experience teaching people, people thrive when there's structure to their learning. And because I've taught over 1,000 in-person classes, I know the questions people ask and where people struggle. And my course, it leaves no stone unturned. So by the course's end, man, even 2 hours in, you're going to be so much more confident, okay? And then when you play live, you're going to be the standout DJ on every single lineup. So I guess it comes down to how much do you value your time. So if you're happy to learn what took me 20 years to learn on your own, so I imagine that it could take you 20 years. But otherwise, the beauty of a course is you can learn what took me 20 years, perhaps in a couple of months. And even better, the Club Ready Tribe is the strongest DJ community in the world. We have a Club Ready radio station. We have live streaming events so students can showcase their sound, and they're meeting like-minded people. And honestly, the group's super interactive, and we have Facebook and Discord groups, and honestly, all your questions get answered. And honestly, you have the potential, I see it all the time, to make lifelong friends and get opportunities. There's even events that that we're sort of running, and there's kind of this global vision. It's really cool. So anyway, if you're a student, weigh in on this. I'd love for you to share your comments and your own experience about the course in the comments below. And either way, thank you for tuning in. I hope this video helped point you in the right direction. There's no doubt learning to DJ at first, I get it, man. It can really feel overwhelming, but I assure you, with some guidance, I can have you mixing a quality playlist within your first 2 hours behind the decks. And the good news is, I'm currently doing an Easter/spring sale, so I'll link that in the description below. But if you're watching this, I can honestly assure you, you're not going to regret trusting me to be your tutor. And honestly, this might be biased, but I don't think you're going to find a better DJ course anywhere in the world. Anyway, thanks so much for watching. And remember, if you had an idea, your initial idea, and you got really excited about it, trust that, okay? And honestly, just get excited about wanting to learn a new thing and act on that. And even though you may then have to earn it through, exercising perhaps a little bit of discipline, even 30 minutes a day, that discipline will pay off many, many times over. There was a quote I read once: an ounce of discipline equals multiple reward. But the fact is that when you're making progress, you kind of feel like you're on the right path. And from that's where the magic happens. And honestly, a lot of people say learning through me, I'm explaining complex stuff, but making it fun and easy along the way. And hopefully you guys are kind of liking the way I teach. I know I'm getting excited. I'm happy to be here. This is kind of like a cool shot. I'm interested to see how it pans out. But anyway, thanks guys. See ya.